you're farmed on this planet. Like, that's one of the biggest secrets, if you will, of like what's going on this planet. Like, this is a slave class race, and that's what we're doing right now in this moment. We're trying to liberate people and liberate people's minds so that they're no longer feeding the entities, the beings that get their sustenance from lower vibrational energy.
Yeah.
They're choosing to vibrate on a different bandwidth to where they don't feed them and they don't exist on that plane.
So that's what you mean by we're going to be vibrating at such a high frequency that we can do that.
It's a little bit more difficult than that because the consciousness is encased in 3 bodies. The physical body, the most gross plane, the less dense, more subtle body, which is the astral body, and then an even more subtle body, which is the causal body. But those 3 encasements, once your consciousness expands beyond even that very, very subtle plane, that is when you're infinite awareness. I mean, you're always infinite awareness. You're just focusing on the most dense body. So there's more to traverse even after this physical plane. Like, this is like the roots. Like, we're trying to wake people up at the very base level, you know, but this is a very, very, very important plane because it's the densest and the darkest here. If you can illuminate yourself and know thyself on this plane, you got to start at the roots to come up. But yes, at your core, you are a direct manifestation of God, which is love, unconditional, infinite, and you exist forever. And just living with that and knowing that, because then, I mean, that's like a huge thing that takes away from their grip of fear. Like, they can't get you to be afraid if you're fully aware that you are all that is. There's no reason to produce the frequency of fear and feed them and be controlled by them and densify your consciousness because you're aware of what you are.
But how do we do that, like, faster?
That's a combination of things, you know? You have to purify this body, purifying your water, purifying your food, purifying the energy that comes in from into your mind, whether it be through media or whatever, and it's taking back the sovereignty of your own mind. And it's meditating, it's yoga, it all comes down to purification. Because the more pure you are, the more you're aligned with God. They just want to keep you trapped in the identification of this body and get you to believe that you are only this body. Because when they can get you to believe that you're just this little flesh suit on a little rock swirling through space, and just take away like all of like the importance and the spiritual importance of what you really are, that's how they take your power. Little by little, they take your power. But you start taking that power back. You start taking that power back, and you know who you are. You know what you can do. The more you purify your body, the more you stay in a frequency of love, the higher you vibrate, and the more validation you attract in the mirror, in the holographic mirror, in this dream. You know, you'll eventually be so aware, the ego will be so aware of the synchronistic experience, what this is, that you're dreaming. It's just taking the time to refine the mind, in using your concentration, using your willpower to pop the bubble, because that's when you're free. Because, I mean, you're unlocked. I mean, no one can tell you anything. No one can try to convince you or persuade you of anything because you know. You don't think you know because you've experienced. That's wisdom. You know, you can have knowledge. You can read a book on something, but until you experience it, you don't know. You have to have the experience, and that takes work. That takes real things. You can't just read books on this and, like, you can't even really watch this. This is just a stepping stone for you to do your own work and expand yourself and do whatever it takes, whether you have to travel across the country or the world to put yourself in a more conducive environment to expand your consciousness.
What can people do right now who feel stuck to go out and experience new things?
It's just you taking your sovereign right of free will and directing it to whatever means, whatever ends that you desire. Whether that means surrounding yourself with different people that are more on. You know, for me, when I first woke up, there was nobody awake. Literally nobody awake. Luckily, I was really on, so I could wake up a lot of people around me, but I had to move across the country by myself because I needed to be in an environment that's more conducive. And that's just looking up and having the faith in God, and having the faith in your belief and your knowing that you can go anywhere anywhere with like nothing, and you will be completely taken care of, because you're doing it to expand your consciousness. You're doing it out of the love for God. You know, if you're doing it all for the right reasons, if you're staying in the flow of love, you will always be taken care of. You never have a reason to fear. You can do whatever you want to do, because you're seeking God, and God wants you to seek Him. You know, He knows that everyone eventually will forsake the desires of ego, the desires of the illusion of Maya, and they will turn back to Him. He knows that. So He will set up everything for you. If you like take the, you know, your will and be like, I'm doing this, and I have no fear, you know, you'll be totally taken care of. Because that's you walking in your power, that's you walking in your light, and that's saying, I want to know God. I want to know myself, and I will do whatever it takes to do that.